All right, episode 20, and it's a bit of a mishmash, this one, for a midweek one. We've got a few things to go through because it's been a big day in world sport. So I'm Heath, and the other voice is Josh.
Yep, a massive week in sport, to paraphrase several commentators.
And Brenson's done his back, so he can't be bothered rolling out of bed to come over here. But anyway, we'll press on. So we'll get straight into it. One of the big things, I think, was it announced today with the F1 for 2016?
Yeah, about 12 hours ago now, they're going to run head-to-head with the AFL. The season opener will be April 3rd, 2016, which means the season gets condensed a little bit.
For the F1 season gets condensed a little bit?
Yeah. But it'll be the first time that you'll have F1 and AFL on in Melbourne at the same time, which, honestly, I think is fucking brilliant.
It's going to be good, because it'll be probably round 2 or 3, the AFL, so it's not like they're going to push back the start of the season or anything. No. If there's any concerns, they can have matches interstate. But imagine a night game, the MCG, on that Saturday night before the big game, the big race on Sunday. So it's after qualifying.
Exactly so.
You're going to have a lot of people saying, what's this AFL thing?
Yeah.
You know what will be a shame is if they put on, like, Hawthorn Essendon or something like that. Put on Melbourne versus the Bulldogs, who normally draw 20. You're going to get 60. You're going to get 70.
Oh, if they don't have a Friday, Saturday and Sunday night game, they're mad and they've missed out.
And at the MCG. Forget about Etihad.
Oh, you can alternate. Like, the Friday night can be at MCG or the Etihad. The Saturday night has to be at MCG.
Yeah, try and get 70, 80,000. Who cares if they've never seen the game before?
And tie it into it. Like, say, if you're an international person who've come to watch the F1, show your passport and we'll give you, I don't know, fucking
$5 entry, or who cares?
Yeah, who gives a shit? Because even if they, no one's going to lose money for people turning up to the MCG.
Exactly.
But even if you do, those people are going to go home with pictures, with social media posts, with just, what the fuck did I just watch sort of effect.
Well, and the AFL's always been trying to expand internationally. Here, look, if you get an extra 30,000 people from all over the world to go to a game, you only need 1%.
Yeah.
To go, you know what, I want to buy a jumper. Or, you know what, I'm going to buy the AFL Live Pass next year. And you wouldn't have had them otherwise. It's a great opportunity for them.
And the other thing is, most of the tourists who follow the F1 circus around are from Europe.
Yep.
Which is something that AFL has made some inroads into in Ireland and having the expats in London, and all that sort of shit. But Central Europe, like going through France and Germany and everything, Australia has no profile there at all. All you need is a couple of guys sort of look and go, holy crap, this is amazing. The other side of the token, though, if rugby league misses out on this and doesn't have a Storm game on, at least on the Saturday,
Storm,
they're crazy.
Yeah, they're usually pretty clever about it, because they've already gone, you know what, we're going to have 90,000 people at Collingwood Essendon Anzac Day every year, so why don't we just hop across the bridge and go to a Storm game?
They're smart with that.
They've done that a couple of times, so I'd be very surprised if the Storm aren't all over it.
But this is the one time where the European visitors are going to be more like NRL will have the advantage. And Union will probably be the number one thing that people go to see. I mean, soccer not being on, that can either be here nor there. But if you're a tourist, you'd probably, it's hard to sort of pick what people are going to want to do, but you'd probably think, I'm visiting Australia, I'll check out the local game, rather than I'll check out their local version of rugby union or their local version of rugby league, which is something that the European visitors will be much more familiar with.
Exactly. And, it's not a big miss for the A-League, because they're used to probably a higher standard, and that's not a knock against the A-League. It's just a fact that European leagues are a little bit stronger. What does it mean for F1 though? I mean, have a more condensed season? Is it are they trying to get a bigger TV audience? Or?
Well, the rule with this generally is that Bernie Ecclestone's trying to squeeze more money out of someone.
Heaven forbid.
Well, like I've said elsewhere, you can't be mad at a dog for barking.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Bernie squeezing more money out of someone. Well, they're going to Azerbaijan for a Grand Prix.
Okay.
Which, if you can point on a map right now without looking it up and tell me where Azerbaijan is, I've got a tenner for you.
Central Asia.
Yeah, that's a very broad section.
I'm just basing on the last 4 letters of the name of the country.
But what I mean is, like, he's going places like there. He's going Abu Dhabi. He's going Bahrain.
Yeah, but there's a big top end to the demographics.
And there's also lots of empty seats. Like for the last Grand Prix at Bahrain, they've got about 6 grandstands, and most of them are empty.
Yeah, well, that sort of happens in that area, don't they? They build very, very big things and don't worry about if people go to them or not.
Well, yeah, I mean, you only need to have 4 or 5 seats, and the people who've paid for it are happy.
Exactly right.
But, I think having that opportunity is just crazy massive for the AFL, especially.
Yep.
Because they can stitch up the biggest grounds.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they've already got them. And they've got to play games anyway, so now it's just like, it's really fallen into their lap. I'd be very surprised if they drop the ball on this one.
Yeah, AFL marketing have been doing a brilliant job for a long, long time.
Yeah.
You could say there's places they could improve.
I think that they've made a big effort this year. They've been lazy, I reckon, for a couple of years because they've gone, you know what, people are going to come anyway, it doesn't matter. And last year was the first time that they've gone, oh, maybe they won't come. So they've tried something different. And I think this year has been a much, much better. It's definitely a step in the right direction. So means next year, hopefully, they'll really capitalise on this.
Well, I reckon they will. Their big push this year has been the family approach. Just say, we're doing cheaper food. And realistically, only saving about $1.50 for a pie, but just the
gesture
there.
Yeah. And also, kids free on Sundays and kick on the G afterwards. And
that's a big one, the kick on the G.
Yeah.
I can understand why they took it out.
Yep.
As a business, it makes sense.
Yeah, and what they used, insurance and public liability and that kind of as an excuse. But at the end of the day, it's kicking a footy.
It's about kids pretending to be their heroes.
Yeah, exactly right.
Like, you see the little kids running around there just, jumping through the air and going, Franklin!
Yeah.
Or, whatever. Doesn't matter. They've got the number on their back. They've got their bum on the seat. Let them go out and have a kick on the ground.
Or they're running around ducking down going, Selwood!
Oh, that was a big one on the weekend too.
Oh, yeah. Well, is it your first trip down to Geelong, wasn't it?
First time I've been to Cardinia Park.
And how was it?
Actually, it was really good. I quite liked it.
It's the old suburban grounds, isn't it? Really?
It is. And I kind of like that. The other thing was no lining up for anything because behind the stand, there's they go on the pattern of toilet, bar, food, toilet, bar, food.
Oh, right. I thought you were going to say because everyone's already bought their own thermos and pre-chewed.
Probably that too, but they were pretty keen to have a quick beer. But they got them in and out quick. They had plenty of staff. I hardly lined up for anything. It was fantastic.
It was still a packed house, wasn't it? I mean, for them, which is 25 or 30 or whatever. I'm not sure. But
I think it was 28.
Something like that. Yeah, around that mark.
Yeah, but no, I really liked it. But the funniest thing was to hear a whole bunch of Geelong supporters just get into Lindsay Thomas for his
theatrics.
Yeah, let's go with theatrics.
Yeah.
And there's he's a ducker, he's a diver, and I'm like, mate, you got
you got a couple.
You got a bloke running out there his forehead has grass wounds every week. He puts it down that quickly.
Let's stop putting up those glass houses, lest they come down so quick.
And look, in no way, shape, or form am I saying Lindsay Thomas doesn't.
He puts
put effort into his appeals.
Let's put it this way: Billy Brownless approves the amount of mayo on his sandwich. He puts a fair bit on.
He makes an effort, but the Geelong guys have been doing pretty good for quite a while. And I was at the match with a good mate of mine, who's a Geelong supporter, young Manny, and he was dirty on the umps, and And in fairness, it was like 27 free kicks to 9 by the end, I think.
Yeah, but that means nothing.
No one says it has to be fair.
Yeah, it has to be equal. No, it has to be fair, but nobody says it has to be equal.
Even. Yeah. But I think for a long time, Geelong have kind of got a bit of a better run in that sort of thing. Like they've gotten the 50-50s have gone their way. In this particular match, a lot of them didn't. And he was like, you can't do that. You can't. I'm like, look at the replay and tell me it's not there.
Yeah.
The free kicks were always there to be called. Just in the past, they weren't called.
Well, they get used to having it one way, and now they're not used to even being challenged down at Skilled Stadium. But yeah, anyway, I was just complaining about the umps. I mean, you can do it as much as you like. It's not going to change anything.
Oh, at the end of the day, you forget it by next week.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's just like in the UFC. And I've said this before. Like Dana White says, don't leave it in the hands of the judges. Yeah. If the game's close enough that one dodgy umpire decision can change the result, then you haven't done enough to put the game away.
Absolutely.
But anyway.
I tell you though, the big moment was Hawkins' goal.
Yeah. And I think the crowd was there for it too. Everybody knows the story. His mother passed away.
Really? I only saw he was the only one wearing the black armband.
Yeah.
So I hadn't read up on anything. I'd kept away from it all week. And he's lining up for goal, and the whole crowd just shushed.
Hushed, yeah.
And the crowd had been pretty out of it for a while, just because by that time North had got a run on.
Yeah.
They came from, I think, 4 goals down at quarter time to be about even, and then they were controlling the game. And then Hawkins lines up, puts it through, and just see the crowd lifted.
Yeah.
And every player came to him and just... hugging him, high-fiving, scruffing his hair and everything. And you could see it meant a shit ton to him.
And it shows a lot how sport can, bring people together. And end of the day, it is just a game. And there are bigger things in life, but it can help you with those bigger things in life sometimes.
And look, honestly, I don't know how... Robbie Tarrant probably took the chocolates on him on the day.
Yep.
But how the hell does a bloke turn up to his job?
Yeah, a week after.
Work his ass off. I don't care who you are. You could be the Prime Minister of the country. Your mum dies, you're probably staying home for a bit.
Yeah. But he took 1 week off, essentially, and that's it.
Yeah, but to his credit, he came out and he did play well.
Yep.
I think Robbie Turner will get Brownlow votes for the job he was able to do in the back line.
I'm pretty happy with how Robbie Tarrant's turned out in the first 4 rounds, although I'm not sure if he played round 1.
No, he didn't.
Because
they had Tippett in.
Yep, because I said he's going to have a good year this year, and it looks like he's following through, which is great. Yeah,
if he can stay on the park,
yep.
He is looking very, very good.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting if he lines up with Jack Gunston this weekend with the Hawks game. Something else I wanted to bring up, because I saw talk about it online a little bit, and it came up because of Luke Parker's goal against GWS the other week. You know, the one where he's tripping over himself and he kicked it accidentally.
Yeah.
And they said it was the return of the drop kick, which, it's obviously gone out of the game because it's hard to do on the run and it's not as accurate and all that kind of crap. But it reminded me that I had a drop kick story. So we're going way back to when I was 17, I think. And you know how you have shots on goal before training when you're playing footy and stuff like that. And, you always start on the point post, kicking check sides. And I was pretty confident on my checkies, on the bananas. I don't think I ever had a shot during a game from there. But, before training, it's just what you do. And then gradually you work out and, you go, all right, I'll go on a bit of an angle and 25 and you go out to 30. By, the time you having your goal kicking practice, you're always ending up on the 50. So one of my tricks used to be I could kick, the Jubilee Oval in Broken Hill was very hard. So doing drop kicks was a little bit easy because the ball bounces really genuinely nice.
Yeah.
So one of my tricks used to be droppies from 50. Now I can clear the goal line with a drop kick from 50, but accuracy was never quite there. So I don't think I ever got one to go through. They always went through the points and, 50, 55, no worries. But that was, that's what I always did at training. So it's not something I think you'd pull out during the game, especially if it's on the line.
I think it's the sort of thing you could pull out if you did it. It's like those bullshit snaps over the shoulder, 45 out in the pocket. If you put it through the middle, that's fine. If you miss, you're on the bench.
You look like an idiot, yeah. So I thought, when would be the right time to pull it out? I mean, when you're up by 100 or whatever like that. But anyway, so this year, let's see, it would have been 1997. Yeah, let's go for that. So I was in under 17s, in my senior year of under 17s, and we got knocked out in the prelims. So we're out. We're not playing finals. And I got a call from the B grade coach. He said, come up and play. Look, we're in the grand final. Come play the grand final for us. You're not doing 17s anymore. So that year, the only game of seniors I played was the B grade grand final.
Yeah, I remember I was there.
Yeah. I'm explaining it.
Okay.
The microphone in front of you. That's what I'm explaining it to. So we're playing in the grand final against Souths, and we're North. And so naturally our biggest rival is South because we're North and they're South. That's just how it goes. That's Broken Hill.
When there's only 4 teams, you've got to have one rival.
You've got to have one, don't you? Yeah. So we're playing Souths in the grand final, and it was a really tough game, back and forth all the way. And I think we had the breeze in the final quarter. We're up by 8 points, and I'm playing in the forward line. Anyway, we're trying to, we know that this is it. There's 30 minutes gone. We're nearly there. I lead out and take a mark at about 51 metres big sliding mark, and I'm taking my time. I'm thinking I'll go back. I'm going to put it, into the goal square. It doesn't matter if it goes through or what. I'm just going to take my time, take as long as I can, and just wind down the clock. What happens next doesn't matter. Anyway, as soon as I stood up, the siren's gone. We've won the grand final. It's all over. So I've looked at one of our other players, and I've gone, I'm going to kick a drop kick. It's the grand final in Broken Hill. There's, A-grade's just about to start.
Do you remember who it was?
I've got a tiny memory of who I said. Yes, Paul Garno. That's who it was. It was one or two people, and I just remembered which one it was. So this is probably one of the biggest days of the year in Broken Hill, and everyone's coming out to watch. And I thought, here's my chance. I can kick a droppy from beyond 50 in the grand final for a goal. We've won. We're up by 8 points. Was
not anyone even on the mark?
Yeah. Someone was. He didn't really give a shit.
Dopey fucker should have fucked.
So I've gone back. Take me time. Everyone's already. I don't know if the rest of the team's even watching.
I think I was playing in the back pocket. I would have run over and high five someone.
Yeah, exactly. And we're not really worried about the umpires getting the score wrong. So you hold the ball a little bit different from your drop kick because the right hand's a little bit higher, so I can force it down.
You do?
I do.
Shit. I never knew that.
Yeah, you can kick a drop punt, so don't worry about it. So you do a little. I do a little Josh Kennedy like stutter. So and then there's an arc to it, so that I can really see. The thing with a drop kick is because the ball is so low to the ground, and you get that little half volley, you really can swing your leg hard. And you've got a lot of leeway, and that's why I could kick it so long, but it's not that accurate. I don't really care about accuracy here. I just want to kick a drop kick from 50. So this is a big chance. The whole of town's watching. I run up, kicked it, and I reckon it's gone about 1 metre.
And you've had mostly air swing.
Yeah, pretty much. I've only just collected the ball. It was dribbled off, gone to 1 metre. And I remember the bloke on the mic's gone, oh yeah, good one, fuckhead. And I remember looked at him, shrugged, and went off and joined the rest of the celebration. So that was my drop kick story. I got to do one in the grand final, and it went about 1 metre, and luckily it didn't matter. Yeah. So that's why I'm not that disappointed that the drop kick's gone, but I had my chance.
I've got a quick torpedo punt story.
Go on.
Yeah, I remember under 15s lined up at full back, and the old man's coaching. I'm like, Dad, should I do a torp out of full back? He's like, how about you do a kick first?
All right. Now, one other thing. This is before we get into the fighting sports. I've got one more AFL story. And this is something I've been working on for a little while now. As you may be aware, for round 1, Hawthorn were doing a little activation shit with one of their sponsors that you go onto the ground before the game. And you fill in an online survey and they pick 100 out of however many. Anyway, and they picked my name out, and I thought, yay, I get to go on the MCG before a game. It's an hour before the game, and you had to be there an hour before that. But as it turned out, wife got sick and I had to stay home and look after the kids, so I couldn't even go to the game, let alone go out into the ground.
So it's her fault.
Yeah, exactly. And don't worry. I'll be reminding her about it later on. Like, I'm going to the day game and the night game this Saturday, and if she complains, I'll be bringing that up. But anyway. So I didn't get to go for this activation. I went online and I found out what it was, and they were standing holding banners for IINet, 2 hours before anybody was there. So I'm not.
So instead of paying for acting extras, they just did a raffle.
Pretty much. You got a T-shirt and a $20 voucher to spend at the merchandise stand. That kind of stuff. Which, hey, it's fine. You got to walk out in the MCG.
Yeah, and you get a voucher that'll buy you a pen. Yeah,
well, you get $20 off. You're going to buy crap anyway, aren't you? So why not? That's all fine. But anyway, I couldn't do it. But that made me think, you know what? Because I can't do the crappy one, I've got to do a better one. So I made it my goal for this year to toss the coin before an AFL game. Now, there's usually, I think they raffle these off, or they give them to, people who've been members for 40 years or Make-A-Wish.
Yeah.
And that kind of gear.
With that, if you're in such a bad situation that the Make-A-Wish Foundation approaches you, I'd be asking more than just tossing the coin, surely.
Well, I mean, they're usually the little kids, their goals are low.
Surely the parents can be like, wait, son, ask for grand final tickets or some shit.
Well,
toss the coin between Melbourne versus, I don't know, Box Hill Hawk. Who cares? No one's going to give a crap. But if you're... I'm just saying, if You're in such a tragic situation that Make-A-Wish is coming to you.
Make it worth it.
Make it go. Like, fuck off to Disneyland or some shit.
Well, I'm going to say Disneyland's the one that they always bring up. But, then you go down the path of the chasers who got in trouble for Make a Realistic Wish Foundation. Because, if you really make a wish, wish for a cure to leukemia. But anyway, chasers got in trouble for that, so I won't go down there. But anyway, so I thought, this is what I'm going to do. So how do I do it? And I thought the easiest way is just to start writing letters to clubs.
Are you writing to every club?
No, not every club. I'm only writing to...
Melbourne-based clubs.
So far. But I'm only writing to one club at a time, but I will write to every club until I get the right response. So I'm...
So this is like the Tinder approach.
You're
just hoping one club will swipe right.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And I'm going to move very quickly from the clubs, from one to the next.
So it's just like Tinder?
Yeah.
I mean, I have to assume, being a married bloke, Tinder came out post-marriage.
I've heard of this website, yes. So, I thought that's the best way. Is I'll start just writing to the clubs and until one says yes, and then, Bob's your uncle, I'm in. So I thought I'd start with Hawthorn, obviously, because that's the one I really want to say yes. I considered starting with Saints because I thought, they're desperate. But they've won a couple of games now, so it's lost the luster a little bit. So anyway, I thought I'm going to write a letter and I'm going to print it out and send it snail mail.
Have you written to Melbourne yet?
No, that was number 2.
I just imagine their response would be, "How did you get this address, peasant?"
Well, I've got an angle for Melbourne, so I'll save that for when I do it. But obviously, I'll start with Hawthorn because I support Hawthorn, and that's really what I want. But the other games,
if you write to Collingwood, they'll be like, "How the fuck did you spell?"
Well, see, I'll write the other teams that are hosting Hawthorn, and then I that's my back door to it. But anyway, so this letter, I'll put it up on the Facebook page and on the website. So if you know anybody at the club that has a say in anything, you can make sure that they read it. But I'll be forwarding it on to the club as well as sending it snail mail. So I want to print it out so that somebody actually has to put a penknife in there and open it up and read it before they throw it out.
Maybe we could pop it on change.org or something as well.
Well, if it gets grassroots support, that's really what we're about. Because I think truly that this is...
exploiting the people that listen to our podcast for our personal benefit.
All of them, yep. And I mentioned that in the letter. But anyway, let's go into it. Dear Hawthorn Football Club. My name is...
An informal start, that's good.
I said dear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
My name is Heath Eddy, and I have an ambition to toss the coin before an AFL match this year. So the direct approach... Yeah, we're getting it.
They're reading this thinking, "Oh, this 5-year-old he's gone to all this effort at school."
Yeah, I thought about that, and later on I do explain. I continue. I've been a Hawthorn supporter and member for a long time, even when we were crap.
So they obviously know that you're older than 17 by now.
Well, yes, they've got hints. There was a short period in 1999 when I was also a Sydney Swans member, but that was only because I was at university in Sydney and wanted tickets to the footy. But I did wear all my Hawthorn gear in the Swans members' seats when we got done in round 7 of that year, so I think that transgression can be viewed with mercy. Now, I had to look it up because it was round 7, but I was there that day, and I remember Plugger Lockett flattened our fullback, whoever that was. It wasn't Jonathan Hay.
In fairness, he flattened a lot of people, and Jonathan Hay was flat a lot of the time.
The only reason I remember it was because I was sitting with a mate who was also a Hawthorn supporter, and I said, somebody needs to run out and tell Tony Lockett he just flattened somebody, because I don't think he noticed. We got punished every time we went to the SCG, and I was always there for it. Anyway, paragraph 3. As far as credentials for my role as an AFL coin tosser, now I've thought AFL coin tosser is the right term.
Yeah. You don't want to just leave tosser in there.
Oh no, I'm going the full tosser, plenty of times. So that's the coined phrase, if you don't mind, that I've used all the way through. Yeah, don't give me that look.
I wish there was a way to raise my eyebrows through a microphone. As
far as credentials for my role as AFL coin tosser, I've been present for many big moments at AFL games. I was at the MCG for the grand final in 1993 when Michael Long took all those bouncers down the wing to kick that inspirational goal. And I was at the SCG in 1999 when Tony Lockett kicked his 1300th goal. Both these moments have since been immortalised by Stephen Curry and Dave Lawson in their Toyota Legendary Moments advertisements. So you can see I'm no stranger to spectating on the big occasion.
Did you drop a pocket full of change at both of those times? I mean, probably. I mean, that ties in too.
Yeah, it could have been. But I get into those credentials as well. But I'm just saying, I'm not...
some Johnny-come-lately.
No, I'm used to the big stage. I'm used to being on the sidelines for the big stage. So, I've seen things. Now, You mentioned dropping change, but, I also have credentials when it comes to tossing the coin. I continue. I am also born and bred from Broken Hill, the only place outside of licensed casinos in Australia where 2-up is played legally all year round.
See, I'm actually not entirely sure it is legal. I think it's just been going on for long enough now. The cops are like, yeah, you guys do what you got to do.
No, it is legal. They went through a lot of effort to make it legal, and then they got it down at the Musos Club. I'm really just assuming it's still there, but it was legal and legit. And
I think if they removed it, there would be
it'd
riots.
pop up anyway.
It'd just go in the back door.
You could say tossing coins is part of our culture and upbringing in Broken Hill. It would be a pretty stupid thing to say, but you could say it. There's nothing stopping you. And I understand the role of AFL coin tosser is usually reserved for promotional purposes, charitable awareness campaigns, or Tasmanian Red Queens. Now, Tasmanian Red Queens might not make sense to you, but if you remember Brian Lake's 200th game, Sydney versus Hawthorn at the MCG, and there was that thing dressed up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to toss the coin. I thought that would have been a great moment for Brian Lake in your 200th, going out there and there's that monstrosity there to toss the coin. It was part of the Tasmanian sponsorship anyway, but I had to look it up and it was called the Tasmanian Red Queen.
Did Brian Lake punch it?
No, I think he punched somebody that day.
He
played, so he would have. I assure you I will be just as promotional as the first, just as charitable as the second, and nowhere near as harmful on the eyes as the third in that list. Okay. This honour is also at times bestowed on children with terminal illnesses. While I cannot say with any level of certainty that I have a terminal illness, I haven't been tested for many, so there is still that chance.
Well, you are going to die.
Now, this next bit I'm actually omitted, but I think it's safe to read out here. And let's face it, an experience of a lifetime would have greater return on investment for someone with a greater life expectancy.
Oh, fuck.
It's just pure maths.
It's on brand.
I've been removing that one, but I thought it was good enough just to read out here. I go on. Beggars cannot be choosers, so while I am not bold enough to nominate which game I could fulfill my destiny as an AFL coin tosser, I would suggest one in Melbourne would be better. I can't afford to travel interstate and don't expect you guys to foot the bill either. So I'm showing I'm generous and I'm measured in my on my pleas, don't you think? Modest.
Oh, yeah, you're not asking to toss the coin out of a helicopter. I mean,
no.
That'd be pretty awesome, though. If you could.
It would be, though. Yeah. Let's just say if that was offered. I would, however, suggest that round 7 against Melbourne at the MCG would be a good fit because it'll struggle to fill the stands anyway. Or possibly round 21 against Port, as that happens to fall on my 35th birthday. So I've given him a hint now that I'm not.
Well, when you said you're at uni in '97, unless they thought you were a rather precocious young lad,
I feel it could be important to litter it throughout, just in case they're skipping.
Which they probably are.
Yeah, they would have binned it by now, but that doesn't stop me. Just quietly, round 18 against the Tigers ain't bad either. That's my old man's team, and it'll be good to rub that in. In closing, now I say in closing, but I've still got 3 or 4 paragraphs to go. But, in closing, I am sure to give my utmost to promote the generosity and sportsmanship of the Hawthorn Football Club should you choose to acknowledge this plea by way of my podcast, clickingballs.com. This letter in full will be read out on an episode and posted online for our dozens of listeners. And I'm thinking I should bold and underline dozens, who will be kept up to date on how this progresses either way. Thanks again for reading, if you have made it this far. And yes, I'm aware of how silly and desperate this sounds, but it'll be a laugh, won't it? Cheers, Heath Eddie Clicking Balls. So that's the first letter in what's I'm sure will be a long line of letters, because I'm not expecting anybody to say yes.
Well, who would? I guess
someone, if they're bored.
Which club would have the most human approach, do you reckon? Who's got the worst marketing? That's who you look at.
Hawthorn. Hawthorn had the worst marketing. I don't know if you saw the membership video where they were doing their impersonations.
Can't think of it.
No, well, it's a shocker. You've got all the players trying to do quotes from famous movies, and it's not pretty. It's been shared around online.
Who the fuck came up with that idea?
Well, I don't know, but it could possibly be the same person that I am now begging to make me an AFL coin tosser. So in other words, I think it was actually before its time. Honestly, I think we'll appreciate those videos in years to come. They'll be known as classics and the template that future membership videos are made.
Yeah, it's too bad you won't be. Oh, maybe It's too bad you won't be up at the Gold Coast or something, because Gold Coast and GWS would love to have someone come out.
Anybody. See, that's why I thought Melbourne might be the next step, because, it's just another person at the game.
Yeah, but if you're not an MCC member, they don't give a fuck.
Pretty much, but,
You can probably lie.
Well, I am planning on lying a lot. No, I have set my goal is to obviously toss at some game, and I'm not really that fussed, but the MCG would be nice. But in these letters, I'm not allowed to lie. So, like I said, I don't have a terminal illness, but I haven't been tested, So who knows? I've got a bit of a scratchy throat. That could be Ebola. You can't tell me it's not.
You could answer it like you're an American presidential candidate.
Exactly right.
They say, do you have a terminal illness? Well, let's step back from that. Aren't we all going to die at some stage? And what will we as a world do to handle this? I think it's important to make the most of our time, and I think this would actually allow me to make the most of my time that I have on this limited time.
I have a terminal illness. It's called life. I did the hand actions just then. It works well on podcast, but anyway,
on the Bill Clinton hand actions.
So I'll post that up online, and I think hashtag make me a tosser.
That could get legs.
Yeah, I think that's how we start. So this is the grassroots campaign. I expect to get desperate and be tossing the coin at the local leagues, Auskick or something by the end of the year. But we'll see how it goes. All right, that'll do it for AFL. So we'll move on to some of the punchy. Before we get on to the UFC, because there's a massive day in UFC.
It's funny that two ripped as shit blokes belting the living suitcases out of each other gets shortened to punchy.
Yeah, well, that's what Hunter calls it, my son. Let's go to, I'm going to say, the biggest boxing match in decades in Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather.
Well, all right, let's just clarify that comment. What fight in...
Tyson versus Lennox Lewis?
Yeah.
Tyson Holyfield?
That'd be the last... global phenomenon of a boxing match.
I think this one's bigger.
I think it is too.
Than those two.
You've got an undefeated champion of 5 different weight categories who has done everything possible to make himself a villain.
Yep.
And you've got Manny Pacquiao, who's got about 100 million Indonesians behind him, and he pretty much runs the country.
Philippines.
Well, Indonesian, Philippines, it's all in the Southeast Asian area.
Let's just back away from that one. There's no way out of that one. No, but still, what's he been champion in 7, 8 weight divisions? Something ridiculous like that? Pacquiao, yeah.
I don't know.
It's something ridiculous like that. It is, that level.
I saw a great quote about that. They were talking about how much effort Pacquiao and Mayweather. Well, Pacquiao had to go into to get this fight to happen.
The concessions.
Yeah, and look, probably all crap. But they were just saying, Mayweather said, I want the fight to be in the US. And Pacquiao's gone, yes, okay. And I want to have drug testing every month. Okay. And I want the ref to be one of my countrymen. Okay. I want it to be MGM Grand. Okay.
I want to use these gloves.
Yeah, I want to use these gloves, this sort of ring, this weight. He's like, okay.
If I lose, it's a rematch.
Yeah, if you lose, there's no rematch. Okay. And at the end of it, his friend said, why are you making so many concessions? He's like, in my culture, we give a man
on death row
everything he wants.
Yeah, I don't think any of it's true at all, but it's one of those ones. It's nice. Well, good work, whoever's done that one.
Yeah, they've done well.
The only bad thing I can say about this fight was it should have been 5 years ago. But anyway, it doesn't matter because it is happening. I'm not really a fan of boxing at all. Because I like mixed martial arts. I think it's just that's my introduction into combat sports. So boxing to me is taking something away that I really like, because I really like the jiu-jitsu side, obviously. But this has got my attention, and I think it's got everyone's attention. That even if you have the most casual interest in boxing, I'll check the results. It's going to be big.
And I think in Australia especially, because we do get a lot of news from Southeast Asia, everyone knows who Manny Pacquiao is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they know he's from the Philippines and not Indonesia.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of wants to see him do well.
Yep.
And they have played this up so well. Mayweather's done everything possible to alienate everyone possible.
Yep.
He even had a crack at Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard. Right. And I'm not even saying he's wrong. I'm just saying that if you're going to have a crack at a guy who is known to be the greatest boxer of all time, rightly or wrongly.
Yeah, and self-proclaimed. Yeah, but a lot of people agree.
Plenty of people put their hands up for Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano, and you could easily make an argument that Joe Louis was a much better boxer and much better figure for the sport, having beat the shit out of the Nazi Ubermensch boxer at the time. But in the end, Ali gets the airtime, and he was better in front of a camera, which is what people remember.
Well, see, that's the thing. I'm sure in his time, though, a lot of people had the same opinion of Ali of what they have with Mayweather now, and that he's loudmouth, he's brash, he's and all that. But time and makes everything seem better.
He had better marketing.
Absolutely, he marketed himself. So even if Mayweather's doing the same things, it's Ali did them first.
Yeah, and he did them best. I mean, you can't just look at what Ali did off the canvas and mimic it. Otherwise, Anthony Mundine would be international.
His poetry was ahead of its time. Ali. So it is brilliant because even though
he was doing slam poetry,
some people might have thought he was brash. Even when you see the old tapes now and they're interviewing him, there's still the interviewers are still smirking.
Oh yeah,
they knew exactly what they were getting. They were getting gold. Look, I don't know enough about boxing to pick, but for some reason, I just think that the criticisms of Mayweather is he's never really been tested and has never fought somebody with the power of Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao.
I've mixed the two of them together there to get to Pacquiao. Anyway, Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao.
Having said that, I think that Pacquiao's coming off a loss as well.
Yeah, he's had a few ordinary
decisions. I think.
He has started to slow down.
Yeah.
His ability to hassle and just work.
Yeah.
That was always his calling card. He would outthrow most other boxers and just swarm them. He's not as technical as Mayweather.
Yep.
And look, I'm not saying that as a boxing expert. I'm just saying as a bloke who's read boxing experts. I'm not even going to pretend I've watched hours and hours of fight footage to make that opinion. But Mayweather is like experts from Ring Magazine back when they actually printed Ring Magazine, who now slow profile, are still saying that he is the most technically perfect boxer of this generation in any weight category.
Yep.
And Manny Pacquiao is just one of those freaks of nature that can absorb a crap ton of punishment and dish it out. And he's one of those guys that he won't try and outthink you. He'll just try and outwork you.
Yeah.
And the same could be said of Tyson. He wasn't a smart boxer. He didn't have strategy for strategies and plan B, C, D, E, F.
Yeah.
He just outworked you.
Yep.
Just got in the pocket, threw until you fell down.
Yeah, and he had unbelievable speed and power. Nobody had seen it.
And the thing was, his opponents knew what he was going to do.
Yeah.
His whole, right cross to the lower abdomen followed by a right uppercut.
Yeah.
He dropped loads of fighters with that, and they all knew it was coming.
So my gut feeling is that Mayweather is still closer to his peak than what Pacquiao was, which is a shame that we didn't see this fight a couple of years ago.
Oh, if I'm betting the house, it's on Mayweather.
Yep.
But if I'm betting with $5 I don't really care about, it's on Pacquiao just because I don't like Mayweather all that much.
Yeah, and he's played that role. Every movie needs a villain, and Mayweather's very happy to do it, and it's working for him. God knows he's cashed in on it. So,
well, even if he loses, he's going to pull in about
100 million or something like that, something stupid.
I think losing he only gets 50, but winning he could pull in just crazy numbers.
Yeah, I think together the two of them are putting away. I read a figure of 400 million. Because obviously it's not just on the night. It's it goes beyond that.
You get part of the buy-ins. You get part of this, that,
everything else, and whoever wins, that's their career.
Well, if there's say $500 million total prize purse, how much money is going to be gambled on the fucking thing?
Yeah. Vegas is going to be very happy, no doubt.
You could have $1 trillion day, globally. Because a lot of Southeast Asia are going to have a bit of crack at it, and
but that's not going to be on the books.
True, but a lot of the Chinese gamblers will be having a bit of a crack too.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a very, very, very big amount of money changing hands.
There is every possibility that this is the single most gambled on event in history.
Yeah, I could absolutely
I've got
see that.
absolutely nothing else to back it up other than I just thought of it. So it'd be very interesting. It could go close, being that it is an American and an Asian competing. So you've got two major markets.
And I guess he's America's premier boxer at the moment.
Yeah, by much.
Which means the whole American marketing is behind him.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to come near the Klitschko brother. I mean, what's Vladimir and Anatoly, I want to say?
Yeah, it could be. I would never call
I think Anatoly's actually retired and become a politician.
Yep.
Which is odd that Pacquiao's done the same thing. Like, I wouldn't have thought boxing and politics go well. But then again, if you're arguing a point and some guy's arguing against you, are you really going to argue hard against a guy who's 6'7", 130 kilo and used to knock motherfuckers out every night?
Yeah, well, it's Ukrainian politics too can get a little bit different. So, there could be a lot going on in the background you never know about. But when you think about sportsmen turning to politics, there's been some failed ones here in Australia, but Imran Khan's done pretty well over in Pakistan. I think he's actually very highly respected.
Yeah, Tendulkar's very highly respected too. He's done pretty shit.
He just never rocks up. Yeah, but he's not. That's more of an honorary type of thing, sort of when he wants to. Whereas Imran Khan actually pursued it. And by I don't know anything about Pakistani politics, obviously, but he seems to be highly respected. Okay, so that's probably the most we'll ever talk about boxing because it's just the biggest event that's coming up. But we move on to UFC, and it has been a massive day in UFC. For a few gentlemen.
I'd go so far as to say the biggest ever because the first time I've seen them strip a belt.
Yep. I've seen people retire and hand over belts, and I've seen people, walk away from belts.
Yes, and interims have been created and all that sort of stuff.
This is the first time they've stripped a belt. Especially
for something that happened outside the octagon.
Yep.
And outside of the UFC purview, essentially.
And to the person that I believe is on the top of everybody's pound-for-pound list as well.
So, those of you that are finding this out now, you probably haven't been on Facebook for quite some time.
Hi, Mum.
But John Jones, the
light heavyweight
champion, he hasn't. I don't think he's been challenged all that much, to be honest.
Gustafsson, I think that was a great fight, and Shogun had he been an armbar.
Yeah, or if you ask him, Chael Sonnon had him right where we wanted him. But
actually, to be honest, if Chael could have lasted another 20 seconds, he probably would have won that fight.
He probably would have
because of his toe. But John Jones's toe was broken in half, and I reckon if they got to the end of the round and the doctor saw it, he would have stopped that fight. But anyway,
if he had to last another 30 seconds, he could have been Anderson Silva too.
True.
But anyway, in the past, he's had. The funny thing is, he actually was a student of criminal justice.
Yes.
Anyone on our Facebook page would have saw her put that little gag up, and now he's fleeing from criminal justice. But the thing is,
he's in Albuquerque.
Yeah. Maybe he might have. Well,
he was driving in Albuquerque. Let's get to the details.
That's the facts that we can be certain of.
He's in a rental car
in his own town,
driving along,
and runs a red light and crashes into a pregnant woman in her car. She has a broken arm, and
injuries, nothing life-threatening.
Yeah, not life-threatening,
but enough to go to the hospital.
Yeah, and he has instead done the piss bolt.
Yep, he's done the Benny Cousins. He's hit the bitumen.
He's hightailed it out and pretty much just put his head down.
So they have a phrase for this. It's called a hit and run.
Yeah.
And then he's come back and decided, hang on, I've left some money. I've dropped a couple of grand down the side. I'll come back for that. And then he's bolted again.
Yeah, the thing was there was an off-duty cop who saw him. And, if I'm guessing Albuquerque, not quite big enough that you can be an international level superstar and not be recognised.
A 6'5", greatest fighter on the planet. Yeah, it's going to be hard to hide.
And based on what's happening at the moment with the whole riots in Baltimore and shit, I'm guessing a big black guy fleeing a car crash gets noticed too.
Yes, I think they get noticed anyway, being 6'5".
Well, yeah.
Right away. But anyway, so he's done a hit and run, and I think eventually he spoke to his lawyer, and after an agreed period, he's handed himself in. So he's and then paid there's only a couple of grand bond, all that kind of stuff.
2.5.
But Uncle Dana didn't take very kindly to it, and stripped him of his title.
Well, look, honestly, I'm fine with that.
Oh, they had no choice.
If the first phone call you make when you hit a pregnant woman in a car is to your lawyer, You got soul searching to do, man.
And it's, he's had a more than, this isn't like the first incident he's had. He got pinged for cocaine last year.
Went into rehab for 8 hours or so.
Yeah. I think he's had a drunk driving charge before as well.
I think that was well back in like 2007 or something.
No, I think it was later.
Really?
It was when he had the title. Oh, I'm nearly certain it was 2011. I could be wrong, but I'm nearly certain it was. Now, the interesting thing that comes out of this is now that DC steps up.
Cormier, yeah.
So he gets his big title shot against Anthony Rumble Johnson. It's great that it's going to be a proper title, not an interim title, and that's not taking anything away from interim champions, but it's breathed new life into that weight category.
Yeah, I don't think it's taking anything away. I think you ask an interim champion, do you want to be the unified champion? Absolutely, they're going to say yes.
So it's a great chance for Cormier and Rumble, because Rumble, whichever one wins, it's still a great story. Because Rumble's had, he's been cut from the UFC before because he couldn't make weight. Now he's gone up. He's on an absolute tear. And this would have been a good challenge for John Jones. It's a shame we're not going to see that fight, but that's what happens. DC is 21-1 or something like that. His only loss was his last fight against John Jones, and I think he's the only person that could have it would make sense to step up, because you can't have Gustafsson because he just lost to Johnson in a title eliminator. So it has to be DC, and he's ready to go. He hasn't fought in quite a while.
I think the other thing too, Cormier was really the first one to let the public see below the surface of John Jones, like with that leaked interview and everything. Yeah, and that was his whole approach to the fight.
Try and get in his head.
Yeah, and you could argue it didn't quite work because
he lost.
Yeah,
but he never. I don't think DC had been taken down before in his entire career, and John Jones
taken down at will, pretty much.
John Jones did it half a dozen times.
Yeah, but it's the first time I can remember two fighters who you knew they hated each other
since Tito Ortiz.
Yeah, but even part of that, I think part of that is the show. Tito Ortiz wanted to be the villain.
But Chuck hated him.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt.
They genuinely, with the Ultimate Fighter, with their opposing coaches. But, with this one, you've got a guy who was the face and another guy who was, a hardworking bloke. But the long-term face all of a sudden turns heel because everyone sort of scratched below the surface of the media persona, and he came across as an absolute prick.
Yeah, but, and then at the end of the day, he still got it done. So, the good guys don't always win.
No.
But now we get to see DC have another title shot, so it'll be very interesting if he can close it out, because he was never going to do heavyweight because he's a teammate of Kane, Velasquez. So he dropped down to light heavyweight, and he's met Rumble Johnson, who's gone up to light heavyweight.
Should be very interesting.
And, John Jones is an indefinite suspension, so I'm guessing it's going to be 12 months at least. Let's say he gets a fine and doesn't do any time.
Which, honestly, I think his lawyers are too good for him to do time.
Yeah, of course. And he's got too big of a profile. You know how it works.
Yeah, I mean, shit, the amount of crap that Paris Hilton, Lindsay Lohan and that sort of crap have done. I mean, Lindsay Lohan did some jail time, but I think she had a 3-year coke bender.
I think it's still going.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Okay, so the other massive thing about this whole fiasco and replacing the title fight, one is it made me always think that if this fight got just wiped off, that's still a card I want to see, UFC 187, because it is a stacked card. And it made me think maybe they stacked the card just in case something like this happened or somebody got injured. Because you've got Khabib Nurmagomedov is fighting and Donald Cerrone. I think Andrei Arlovski is fighting. You've got the other title fight with Weidman and Belfort.
I really want Arlovski to do well.
Yep.
Because back in the day, he was one of the fighters I loved watching because he was just always aggressive. You get some fighters who are counterpunchers, like Lyoto Machida.
Andrei Arlovski is always moving forward.
Oh, he is. And him and Krokop were always brilliant to watch because you knew what you were going to get.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot to be said for the fight game, where people go there with a plan, like Machida, who he is a brilliant counterpuncher. His ability to strike from odd angles, fantastic.
Yeah,
just doesn't translate well as a spectacle. So yeah, like you're paying for your pay-per-view.
Yep.
You know, you're buying UFC. Money. You do want to see something where the next day you'll go, oh, and how about when that happened?
Yeah.
But with Machida, you don't often get that until round 5 when everyone's tired and he just has that counterpunch or that kick that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. There was one fight he had, which was a counterpuncher versus a counterpuncher, and it just didn't work out.
Oh, I can see it. I just can't remember who he is actually fighting.
But anyway, so this card, it's the best card they've put together in a long, long time. And it is still a shame that the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world is not going to be there. However, it might rejuvenate that weight category. Now, the funny thing, though, is that a couple of weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, Chael Sonnon went online and they asked his opinion of who's going to win between John Jones and Rumble Johnson, and he said the fight won't happen.
Actually, now I do recall that. He actually did.
So, minutes before I heard about what was going on in wherever, Albuquerque or wherever it is, Chael put up on his Facebook page, "Told you so." Now, is Chael lucky? Like, what's going on? He knew this fight wasn't going to happen.
Well, maybe he expected Jones to fuck up some other way or to claim injury. You know, I'm fairly sure he wouldn't have said, this fight won't happen because he's going to run a red light and hit a pregnant chick.
He didn't say why. He just said, the fight won't happen, mark my words.
I think he expected Jones to duck him or something, or to have accumulation of other issues.
Well, that's it. Did he expect Jones to duck? Or did he just think that Jones would fuck up some other way? You know, because when the cocaine rumours, when the cocaine positive test came out, we heard about hundreds of people that had. Oh yeah, I heard rumours that he was into the nose candy and all that kind of stuff. Joey Diaz was on Rogan's podcast saying he'd heard the rumours, never seen it, nothing confirmed, but he heard the rumours and from reliable people and whatever. So did Chael think that he was going to duck, or just know that he'd fuck up somehow? I don't know if we'll ever hear the bad guy tell us, or he's just clairvoyant.
Oh, he'll tell us. He'll tell us 7 different ways he knew this was going to happen.
Yeah,
he's not backing up. He will include psychic phenomena in one of his explanations. I'll guarantee that.
Well, he's got Meta Morris to promote, which happens in 2 weeks. So I just thought it was amazing that Chael was he was right.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the card before. Let's just run through it. I've got it right here.
Yep.
Weidman versus Belfort.
Yep.
Now, Belfort has been a legend of the sport for quite some time, I'd say.
Yep.
I don't think he's got it. I don't think he's got it today.
Well, he has had an extended sit on the sidelines thanks to waiting for the TRT to leave his body. No, I mean he's been open about it.
Have to. I mean, TRT is a whole other thing, really. I can understand if you're a fighter and you have low testosterone levels. Well, obvious question is, how did that happen?
Yeah.
But moving on from that.
But anyway, the new rules are there, and you've got to abide by them. So he sat out, and anyway, he's still a great fighter and great fighter to watch.
Yeah, and then you got Cormier versus Rumble, which is going to be brilliant.
Yep. I don't know which way it's going to go.
That would headline any other card.
Well, it's headlining this one, so.
Well, Weidman and Belfort is, apparently.
Yeah, anyway.
It might just be an interim headliner because they haven't updated the marketing. Who knows? And then you've got...
Kahib?
Yep. I'm going to have a crack at this. Nurmagomedov?
Yeah, it's not bad. Nurmagomedov.
This is Cowboy?
This is Cowboy Cerrone. It's a great fight because Khabib's still undefeated and Cerrone is the hardest working man in the UFC right at the minute. 2 fights in January and try to get a couple more.
Deserves a shot. And Dana's proven time and again that if you keep putting your hand up, he'll keep picking you.
Yeah, you keep putting on good fights.
Yeah. Even in tough and everything, where you see, a fighter drops out.
Yep.
The first guy that says, "I'm ready, I'll fight ready,"
yep.
and he'll let him fight.
Yeah, follow him out to the car park and you'll get a fight.
I remember that. And Chemo Slice just sitting back going, I'm not going to fight. I'm no good.
He's no good. Anyway,
and then you got Andre Arlovski versus Travis Brown, which is going to be, to quote Jim Ross, a slobber knocker.
Slobber knocker.
It's going to be brilliant. And then you've got Dodson and Makovsky.
Yeah,
I think good fun.
Dobson would be a good fight. He always goes flat out, so that'd be great.
Uriah Hall and Rafael Natal. He's
got to watch his forehand.
Yeah, he must hate that shit.
I don't care if he's heard it a million times before.
Yeah, no, all good. I know. Going to Metamoris for a sec. Halek came out saying that he's not going to put on women's fights.
Yeah.
Look,
very silly.
You can say yes, no, whatever. His business. He can do what he wants. I think it's stupid to say a blanket no.
Yep. Who is the most talked about jiu-jitsu fighter in the world in the past week? Mackenzie Dern, a female fighter. Yeah. So to say that people don't want to watch women's fights is now just there's irrefutable proof right there.
Hello,
so that's the end of the conversation.
Yeah, and absolutely. I'm not saying put on a women's fight. I'm saying put on good fights.
Yeah, exactly.
If they happen to be women,
who
all
cares?
The better. And look, at this very moment, if you had Mackenzie Dern having a rematch with
Michelle Nicolini,
like,
or are you going to say Gabby Garcia?
Yeah, I was going to say Gabby Garcia, just because you want to see the David versus Goliath sort of thing, and the fact that she won and standing up on that podium on the top step, she's still smaller than Gabby.
Yeah, I don't want to see her fight Gabby again, but I see her watch her fight a rematch with Michelle Nicolini, which is I think from Metamoris 2 or 3. They fought to a draw, so I'd watch it again. It was a great fight.
Yeah, same. I can understand not putting on a token fight. But to just blanket refuse to put on women because they're women is dumb.
Yep.
Especially when I think jiu-jitsu is one of the few martial arts where women can have comparable to men profile.
It's
not easy. Like women have a hard run in sports, no doubt. I mean,
Okay. If you look at basketball, for example, I don't care how much they train. The WNBA is never going to draw the crowd that the NBA draws.
No.
It's not as good as a spectacle to watch. Women's jiu-jitsu, just as good as men's jiu-jitsu to watch. It's a different kind of fight because they're more flexible and stuff, but the technique is all there on display. I mean, you're not looking at the grand difference. I mean, the only main difference is there's more... there might be more money in promotion, but there's also more men doing it. But the actual spectacle itself is on par. I don't know where he is.
I think a lot of the female fights I've seen have been much more fluid, and it's more beautiful, more artistic. And the reason I mentioned that was because we got Rose Namajunas versus Nina Ansarov.
Yeah, Rose is a good fight. I like watching Rose fight.
Namajunas has been a brilliant fighter ever since her Invicta days. I remember seeing her. I can't remember which Invicta it was.
But you watched a lot of the Invicta, didn't you?
I actually really like it, especially because you get to see people like Rose Namajunas do a flying triangle.
Yeah.
Stuff that is just amazing to see, because I think a lot of women's MMA is still in that style v style phase. A lot of them cross-train, but they have one dominant style.
Again, there isn't the same numbers of women doing it, so we're still waiting to hit critical mass.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're talking about sports role models, who do women have at this moment? Like besides tennis players, because tennis players get, I think, 8 of the top 10 highest paid sports women at the moment. Tennis players. Yeah,
and they've done a lot to try and get pay parity, even if they don't play the same number of games.
Yeah, which I think is odd. But hey, look,
whatever works.
If they're bringing in the filling the stands, fair play.
Yeah. So who are the most famous female sports people in the world? Well,
at this moment, who are competing?
Yeah. Well, it's not an Olympic year, which takes out a lot because that tends to be where they get a lot of attention. But yeah, besides tennis, it's Ronda Rousey.
It has to be. I cannot think of another sports person who is even in the same conversation, except possibly Danica Patrick in the US.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
But she would have very little exposure outside of the US, whereas Rousey, I think, with the UFC being a global brand...
now she's moved into movies and, WrestleMania. I mean, hey, don't kid yourself, it's a big event.
Oh, shit, yeah. And, being in Furious 7, and I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen the promo of her with Michelle Rodriguez doing their...
I haven't seen the movie either, but I've seen what I did at the box office.
Oh,
ridiculous
crazy
numbers.
I actually really want to see it, but I just haven't had the chance. But, I think Ronda Rousey is a brilliant role model just for seeing something you want and going and getting it.
Yeah, it's just a shame that there isn't anybody at her level at the minute, because Miesha Tate's probably the second best fighter in the world, and she's lost twice or 3 times already. So we're just waiting to see if they can make the Rousey v Cyborg fight.
Oh, it's daylight second. Cyborg is an interesting fight for her, solely because she can challenge her, not because it'll be a great fight. It's the same reason you want to see Dern versus Garcia.
Yeah.
You want to see that strength versus technique match, because as a fighter who has had steroid layoff, you can still see that Cyborg has a lot more muscle mass than...
of course she does.
Well, than me. But I still want to see it. I still want to see how Ronda Rousey will handle someone who has the potential to make her afraid.
Yep.
Because I'd be scared getting punched by Cyborg.
Yeah. It's almost back to the Pride days of the freak show fights.
Just to cover that, I'm not saying I'd be scared as if, oh, that's an amazing thing. I'd be scared of anyone fucking punching me.
Yeah, of course.
But if you're Ronda Rousey, you've got to respect the fact that she has knockout power in one punch.
And she's massive.
Yeah, and she's... Well, there's no allegedly about it. She's been on the juice.
Yeah, yeah.
But as you say.
Yeah, anyway. So that's why I think UFC 187 is going to be a magnificent card. And then we got, I think the UFC coming to Adelaide shortly afterwards, which would be another great one. Mark Hunt hopefully gets the win, and then he can headline the Melbourne card in November.
Now, remember one thing I posted up on our Facebook page was Mark Hunt's table tennis.
Table tennis. Isn't he amazing? I watched it today, actually.
If you haven't seen it, one of the journos was talking about Mark Hunt and what he does during his off time, whatever. He's like, I've got a table tennis table over there, and we just, get warmed up.
Bro, I'm good.
Yeah, and he's like, I want a match. He's like, bro, I'm pretty good. And he fucking was. I tell
funny.
you what.
There's no camera trickery. He's really good. He obviously plays a lot in his downtime.
And I tell you, he was getting some power on those top spinners too. There was no fucking about. He wanted to win.
He might have a career. If they have heavyweight ping pong, I'm backing him. That's all I'm saying.
I'll tell you what, he could dominate that. He moves brilliantly for a big bloke too.
Well, yeah. I can say when you get to the ping pong table, it's not exactly that much court to cover. I don't know how he go on a normal tennis court.
Not even with his reflexes, quick hands.
Yeah, he's all right.
But there's so much I like about Mark Hunt. The fairy tale story, the bloke who
refused to sell his contract.
Yeah. It's like getting a redundancy at work and saying, no, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to work for bugger all instead.
Yeah. So if he wins, I think it's just about a guarantee that he'll have a title fight in November in Melbourne for the first card, and it could even be his last fight. Either way, because he's getting on, but hopefully he retires before he's forced to.
Yeah, that's one thing with fighters. They always go one fight too long.
Yeah. And we'll finish off on this, but I saw on Open Mic, I was watching an old episode with Jonathan Brown just recently, and they're talking about his last head knock, and he still wanted to go on, unbelievably. As soon as I saw that head knock, I thought, please, let that be the end of it. And he was saying, he was going to see doctors and whatnot, and he thought he could still go on. And there was and I wish I could remember the name, a former player who said to him, Jono, stop trying to find somebody that's going to tell you what you want to hear. Because, his wife wouldn't tell him because she knew, this is what he does. And that's when it hit home. He said, to be a professional athlete, you have to be selfish. Now it's time to end it. It's done. You had a good run. It's always good when somebody can go out when they've still got the marbles with them.
Segue to that one. Just today, Jack Zeeble came out. Said he's been chatting to Glenn Archer, who I think even his harshest critic would say Archer was pretty hard bloke at the ball.
Yep.
And anyone that was in his way to the ball. But even Glenn Archer said, mate, you might want to change your technique. You're hard at the ball, that's fine. But for fuck's sake, protect yourself. Because he's had a bruised lung last week. He got shirt fronted this week and just KO'd. As a spectator and a North Melbourne supporter, I want him to have some time off.
Yeah.
Just because those guys who keep getting those bumps, they can be as courageous as hell, like John O'Brien was. Probably the most courageous footballer of his generation. But when he gets those hits, it hurts watching.
Yeah.
And no one wants to see... You want to see the courage, yeah. You don't want to see a bloke off on a stretcher and 5 years later not knowing who he is. But yeah, I mean, like you said, a lot of these pro athletes can go out and find a doctor to tell them, no, you'll be fine. And that's cool for the doctor. But it's the player, the sportsman, who's got to then live life later on.
Yep. At the end of the day, you got to know when to call it quits.
Like GSP has.
Yeah. I was going to say like we have.
All right.
All right. We'll move it on from there. All right. Catch up.
See ya.